Podcast, where three of the OKS youth ministers talk about youth ministry. I'm Michael Deese, and you have already heard from Jeremy Crow.
Hey.
And we are also joined by Hunter Puckett.
Hey, guys.
What's up, fellas? How are y'all?
Hey, that's what you get for unmuting my microphone just a little too early.
Just a little too early.
Can't be trusted. Oh,
Hey.
man, fresh off the Gulf Youth experience.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It was a lot of fun. The kids really wanted to stay that next day and get snowed in.
I bet. Yeah.
I had to explain to them that we're not getting snow, so you still have school the next day, and they were upset.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I went to the beach. I'm glad to be back in the warm air up here in North Alabama. We actually had a really good time. Me and our preacher and our families. We all went down, stayed a week at the beach, and got snowed in. Kids played in the snow.
How many inches of snow did you get at the beach?
It was a minimum of 6 inches.
That's
minimum.
crazy.
Yeah. Justin did the polar plunge. Did y'all see that?
Yeah, I did
Yes.
see that.
Yeah.
I loved
awesome.
it, the picture you sent of your kids making the snowmen at the beach. I thought that was just crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We actually went to a place to see snow, not the beach. We went to a ski mountain, went to the Creation Museum, and went to Perfect North Slopes, and had an awesome time skiing. And we only had one torn meniscus. So.
Oh,
That's
nice.
not bad.
Was it a youth group kid?
It was, and it wasn't like it wasn't the kid that like has never skied before. It's the kid that's been to like Breckenridge and Vail, and he's been all over the West, in the Rockies skiing, and he was jumping hills and landing, and got a little too confident.
Yeah, I did skiing one time when I was in college.
Nolan.
When I was in college, it was great. Oh no, not Nolan.
Nolan.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
So, anyways, I went skiing up in Virginia. Somebody that I knew, one of my really good friends, his girlfriend worked at a ski resort up in Virginia during the summers, and so we went up there and we skied. And it was a lot of fun and stuff. And after it was over with, Laura, she said, "This is like the number one way that people tear their ACLs." Mm-hmm. And I was like,
It's true.
and I just kind of thought over the thing. I was like, my knees are really sore, and I can 100% see how people tear their ACLs doing this. Because you're going like 40 miles an hour, and you're trying to turn, and all of that is just on your ACL. I mean, 100% of that pressure is on your ACL, and so really, really good thoughts there. So have fun skiing.
Go ahead.
I wanted to go ahead and get us started in the show. Do you want to go ahead and say something before?
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
one of the cool things, and maybe this will segue us here, but
Probably not.
one of the coolest things from our weekend was anything like this, going away for a trip. Some of us went with our students because we love them and care about them. Some of us just went to the beach, Michael. But
it was great.
yeah, but one of the best things about things like this, retreats, conferences, that kind of thing, is you get these kind of moments of one-on-one conversation time with students. And so because of that, we had a moment this weekend where one of our students, one of our girls, pulled me off to the side and said, "Hey, can we talk a second?" And so we got to talking, and turns out she was kind of in the place where she's starting to think about baptism and thinking about making this commitment to devote her life to Christ. And so she decides that she's ready for that. Through our conversation, me, her, and one of our elders sat down and talked for about an hour. And I said, "Hey, I'm on go. You just tell me when you're ready." And she texted me Saturday and said, "I want to get baptized tomorrow." So
that's awesome.
So we started worship yesterday morning with a baptism, which was a super exciting way to start your worship service on Sunday morning.
Definitely.
But I say that to say these moments of personal, individual discipleship, this is the heart of what we do.
Yeah.
It's not about the silly trips or the dumb games that we play, or it's not even like the office stuff, like managing all the all the things that we do that are just tasks that we do. The heart of why we do this is we want to individually, have an impression, a discipleship moment with a student to help them know Jesus.
Yeah. I wanted to start us off by saying we are going to be talking about discipleship methods over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about all kinds of different things that we'll be doing. Hunter, where's that? I can't find that list. Could you go over that real quick?
Yeah, so our topics for this, we're going to have 7 different episodes on this topic. And the first one is one-on-one mentorship, texting students, peer-to-peer, intergenerational mentorship. different things about that. We have worship. We're actually going to have a guest speaker come on for that one. We're very excited about that one.
Definitely.
We're going to talk about prayer. We're going to talk about service. We're going to talk about Bible studies, conducting Bible studies, having Bible studies, and also teaching the kids how to have a Bible study.
Right.
And that's going to be very interesting as well. Spiritual disciplines. I feel like oftentimes we kind of skip over that, or maybe we don't approach that the best way.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we'll talk about apologetics.
Yeah. And so we're excited about that. But I wanted to start off the show by asking, when it comes to one-on-one mentorship for you, who is someone that you think about when you're discussing this one-on-one mentorship? Or who's somebody that you always love, like, to get lunch with, or because you know that the topic is going to be interesting and you know that it's going to be spiritually uplifting. So who are some people that you eat with or talk with on a normal basis?
So I hope you guys have the same. I think you do in your own places, but your coworker, your preaching minister that you work with, for me there's such value in those moments where I get to have conversations, sit down with Steve, and sometimes it's about golf, or sometimes it's about family, or sometimes it's about ministry moments and things that are happening. Whatever it is, that kind of older to younger mentorship thing. He actually said this weekend we were having a elders and ministers staff thing where we talked about just different things going on, things that we're working on in our church body. But he said, I could be like Jeremy's dad. I'm about the age that I could be. I was like, that's true, actually.
Yeah.
But we have a great, mentoring relationship, and I get so much knowledge and wisdom from him. So
yeah, Steve's great, man. I really love Steve. I said we just got back from going to the beach with Justin and his family. And Justin is I'm actually just a few months older than Justin. So shout out to Justin. What up? But we definitely have that relationship,
Right.
But
it's cool too because y'all are in similar age.
Yeah.
Or Jeremy and I are in a boat where the preacher is older than we are, and it's more of that father figure. But then you're looking at one of your best friends getting to hang out and just work together.
Yeah, and there's some definite good value to that. Being able to just, like, we went on the beach, we worked like a lot while we were there, but it was fun because like we were just like hanging out and be like, hey, what are we gonna do about this? And like, oh, we're gonna do this, and we did have some time where we kind of stepped away from the family and kind of got together and discussed some stuff and worked on some stuff. But
so who for you might be that older mentoring person in your life?
Somebody, well, one of them is Jeremy. Jeremy has always been.
Wow, he set that one up for you too.
I know. He was waiting for it.
Get that bump and set it.
But he has always been somebody that ever since I was 15, 16 years old, I've been able to go to Jeremy and get some help with whatever's going on and some encouragement, support, mentorship stuff. But there's also the preacher that I grew up with, Brad Howard. Shout out to Brad. Brad, I think, listens. So what's up, Brad?
Does he?
He does, man. Yeah. Listen, we're talking about Uncle Brad.
That makes my heart feel good.
Yeah. Uncle Brad he's pretty great. But me and him have some very deep conversations. We've been through some similar situations, and he is someone who has encouraged my spiritual life greatly. And so, if you know Brad Howard, he's I think he's the involvement minister at Gunnersville Church of Christ now, and he's also the chaplain at the hospital there. So, incredible guy. He does just a fantastic job, and I'm really, I really love my conversations with Uncle Brad.
Yeah, and I would say we all probably have some in our past that we would refer to. Like, he would be one when I worked with him at Hebron, kind of in the same way that Steve is that now for me. Bobby Thomas would be somebody that was a mentor to me in youth ministry when I was young, getting started with this in college.
And something really cool about Heritage Christian University is there's this class called the Spiritual Formation class. And I believe all the graduate students have to take it. I think Michael's in it, I'm in it. And part of that is finding a spiritual mentor. And you have to meet with them, or you're supposed to meet with them every other week. And you're supposed to talk, and they give you a list of things to talk about. And it's very beneficial. My spiritual mentor is Trey Durden. over at Petalline. I love Trey. And for those that know Trey or maybe don't know Trey, Trey's a big outdoorsman like I am. So we use our little meeting times to actually we just go out and shoot some local 3D shoots, or we'll go hunt or whatever that might be. But I think that's really big too, and that's been very beneficial to me. Is yes, we're talking about the things that we're supposed to for the class, but you're also just getting to sit there and talk to somebody that's older than you and just has more experience than you. And you can be open with them, and most likely they've experienced or they've gone through the things that you're going through, and they're able to help you out along the way.
Yeah.
Same thing with our mentors that we had when we were younger. You know, one of my youth ministers was Brandon Edwards, and I call him quite regularly, and he's probably tired of it, but I call him regularly about just different things that are happening in my ministry. Hey, how should I approach this? How would you do this? And you know, how can you help me out in this situation? And they're always there to help you out. Yeah. Everybody's more than happy to be this mentor for other people.
Yeah. It's important to have one of those mentors. And I think this is where we draw the whole show in right here. This is it right here. You ready? And I think that's the purpose of youth ministers, right? That's why I think we exist, is we get to be that mentor, someone that the parents can trust, someone the kids can trust, someone that they can look up to, that they can, connect with, that is going to be that older person in their life who has their life together and is then mentoring the younger kids and showing them what a Christian looks like. And sometimes their parents do a great job of that. Sometimes they don't. And it's kind of that's kind of the reason why we exist, is because of this one-on-one mentorship that's required. Back in the old days, they had rabbis, and the people followed the rabbis, and they would have one-on-one time then. We have just all throughout history, we have Paul when he was working with Titus. We have Paul when he was working with Timothy. We have evidences of that all throughout the Bible. And his mentoring, his one-on-one mentorship, and that's what we do. We get to follow up in those shoes and do those kinds of things. It's part of why we exist.
Yeah, so let's talk about some specific things that we're doing in mentoring, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I try to do, I don't do it all the time, but I try to once every 4 or 6 weeks or so, I try to send text messages out to my students. I try to send like specific messages with whatever's going on with them. Maybe they're trying out for a specific team, or maybe they're going through something with their family or whatever. I try to, capitalize on whatever's happening with them by letting them know I'm thinking about them. And part of that is recognizing the need for praying for my students. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about prayer, I'm sure, later. But going down my roster and individually praying for my students, and then letting them know that there's such value. And I think Michael's probably had this experience with a previous coworker of letting someone know that you prayed for them that day.
Yeah. It's not a coworker, but it's a friend. But yeah, he does that with me. But I was going to say, there's apps and stuff that you can set up, and you can have the same blanket statement made, and you can send that out. And I did that for a little while, but I noticed that I asked the kids, like, what did y'all think of the scripture of the week this week? And they were like, what are you talking about? And they just didn't care. It wasn't one of the thing that it wasn't a disrespectful thing, but then I started sending text messages, kind of like what Jeremy's saying. Hey, I'm praying that you make the team this week. And it's a specified text message to specific people with specific things. And they know that you're not just sending out a blanket text that says, thank you so much, here's a verse of the week. This is what, I know that this is going on in your life. I know that you're thinking about this, and I want you to know that I've been praying about it, and I'm hoping that it works out for you. And there's a difference in just sending a message that just says, let you know we prayed for you. It's kind of like the difference in every week. I mean, basically every day I say, please be with the kids that are in my youth group.
Sure.
Whatever struggles they're going through. But then, like Jeremy said, there's several times where I just stop and I go through the roster and I say, this person that's experiencing this person, I have a girl in my youth group who's going through a lot. Their family is going through a lot. And, definitely, like, talking about that stuff and praying to God for those specific things is a huge deal compared to you just saying, and be with the kids that I work with in my youth ministry.
Yeah, and a really cool way to kind of figure that out, or really to get them to open up a little bit. I've started doing this in my classes for the past 3 or 4 years. I stole the idea from, I believe it was Dr. Mark Crow. He was a professor at Freed-Hardeman while I was there. I don't know if he was there when y'all were there or not. He taught like death and dying and some of these very sad courses. And the cool part about that was he would start off the class with, hey, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 is you're doing really good. 1's you're doing terrible. If you didn't sleep good, you're not a 3, you're closer to a 7. But I go through individually and I have the kids say, hey, how are you doing today on this scale? And the kids think that it's just for fun. It's just something to open up the class with. But really, it's for them to open up and for me to see who's having a bad day so I know who I can go back to and to, talk to or send that text message that next day and say, hey, I know yesterday was terrible. I hope today's a little bit better. But it really gets them to open up. You get to see what your kids are going through and you get a better understanding of what was going on with it.
So, Jeremy, tell me some things that, you do this pretty regularly, texting your students individual text messages. What are some things that you've seen that have come from that in a one-on-one situation or type thing?
Well, so I'll tell you this. One of the ones just last week, okay, one of the things that came out of this, I did this. I try to do this before school if I can pull it off because one, I think they get in trouble for messing with their phones at school, or they should. And then, and I also want that to be something that impacts them in a positive way before they start their day, because they may have a really terrible day coming, and you could really use that encouraging word before they start school. But I sent out, I prayed for all my students, sent out a message to each one. And that day, mine wasn't as personalized as it was like, hey, just wanted you to know I prayed for you. And I always try to add something like, hey, I also, want to tell you, Jessica and I love you, and we're hoping you have a great day. Well, this one boy sent back, did you mean to send this to my sister?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, man, I meant to send it to you. But like, two things. One, that told me he didn't think that we had enough of a relationship that I should be texting him personally like this.
Right.
The other thing was he didn't think he was worth my time to do this, right? And so that tells me something, right? It tells me something about our relationship. It tells me something that needs to be considered and worked on and improved in a personal discipleship way with that student, right? It opened the door, even though there wasn't necessarily a positive result out of it. It was something that opened my eyes to maybe where I go from here forward with this one student. Other things that we see is, I've had kids respond back things, I'm sure y'all have too, like, hey, I really needed this today, right? Or they'll say back, hey, I love you too, and I'm hoping your day goes great too, right? But just those connection points that reminds a student, hey, you're not just a name on the roster to me, but you matter to me.
Yeah. I think that has a lot to do with why we're even talking about this idea of peer or
you got this. Words are tough.
Sorry, one-on-one mentorship, and it's because kids are in that situation where they're just like, yeah, I just come to the group stuff, and you don't really know me. We don't, you know, and building that up and letting them know, no, I do know you. I do care about what's going on and everything.
Can I tell you this? And I think y'all know this, but it matters so much that you know someone's name.
Oh, yeah.
And that you can say their name to them or say their name in context in a way that they know he knows my name, right? That matters so much. And we don't realize how much it matters until we realize or we think that someone that maybe is above us or doesn't know us or doesn't care about us speaks specifically to us or calls our name in some way. You go, oh, wow, he took the time, right? I'll tell you, Look, I'm not the best youth minister. We know this. We're just okay. I know that. There's a lot of things I'm not good at in youth ministry. There's a lot of things that I struggle with this stuff. But one of the things that I really try my best is to have genuine relationship, know my kids, and they know I love them. And in this other stuff that I'm not good at, it kind of works itself out because the kids know that I care and invest in them.
Yeah. I used to listen a lot to This American Life podcast. You ever listen to that? Ira North.
Yeah.
I used to listen to it like every day. Whenever every episode that he would put out, I would listen to it. It was a thing done by NPR. It was really good, really well done. But there was a whole episode about like what's in a name is basically what it was, and it was talking about all the research and all the things that go into what somebody's name is. And I heard a really good sermon based on that same podcast and everything. So when you're talking about what, you even you knowing their name, there's just some kind of reaction. We like to hear people say our name. Yep. Whenever you're in a public place and you hear your name, you don't usually hide and like cover up. You look around. Who said my name? Even when you know that it's probably not somebody you still are in Walmart and somebody says, Michael, and you're like, hey, somebody knows me, No, they don't know you. They're just calling their friend, But there's something about knowing a name. And I think that goes into one of the things I was going to kind of bring up was when you see your teenagers, don't just say, what's up, man? Or, hey, dude, or whatever. Say, hey, Jeremy, how's it going? How are you doing? And that can be applied across the board. Everyone in your congregation, hey, John, how's it going, man? How's everything been? Don't just say, hey, dude, glad you're here. It's, hey, how are you? And say their name. Let them hear their name, because that tells them that you know enough about them, that you care about what their name is, that you know their name. And people like to hear their name. They want to hear it. That's why preachers say, yeah, Johnny over there is still doing that, and everybody laughs because they want to hear their name said.
This is a hard thing too for people in ministry leadership, anybody in a higher role, because everybody knows them, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. An example is when I was at Freed Hardeman, one of the people that was a very high person in administration, everybody knew his name. I probably met him 15 different times and told him my name in the time that I was at Freed.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know you do, and I'm not going to say. But
that same man came to our church building.
Moving on.
Where I was working.
So I will say, though,
didn't know me.
Everybody in your church knows Hunter. They know Michael. They know Jeremy. And so it's harder for us, right? They see us all the time, see us up front. They hear our name. They see our name in the bulletin. They know us. And so we've got the harder thing. You got to know 400 people or whatever your membership is. And so, when I started a job, one of the things that I try to do pretty quickly is get a roster of students. Of course, it's been 9 years ago since I started where I'm at now, but get a roster of students and get pictures and try to, as quickly as I can, memorize who these kids are.
Yeah.
At least their faces and names.
Definitely.
I like that.
So go ahead. Sorry.
What y'all were saying, I'll kind of push us to this next part.
Yeah.
What y'all are saying is when you invest in the students, they start to invest in themselves. When you show that they care, when you show that you care about them, they start to care about others. Mm-hmm. And what we see is this transition into more of a peer-to-peer mentorship and a student-to-student mentorship. Jeremy told us this really cool story, so I'm going to have him tell the story about one of his kids. I think it was this past weekend or 2 weekends ago on your ski trip, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we were away on the ski trip, and I had this moment. We had a new student. He's been coming to our youth group for about 6 months now, visiting with his girlfriend, and he came on the ski trip, and so I just pulled him aside, and I'm going to say his name is Bob, so I won't embarrass him, but it's not Bob. But so I said, hey, Bob, will you, I love, by the way, no teenager currently is named Bob. I love that. I said, Bob, will you lead the prayer for worship? We did our worship service on Sunday night, and I said, would you lead the prayer? And he's like, I don't know, man, I don't know if I can do that. I'm not comfortable. The typical first time ever doing this, they're scared. And, and it's intimidating, and you're, amongst your peers and all that. And so we'll just say that Jacob, because I don't think I have a Jacob right now. Yeah, Jacob, this other kid, hears this going on, and he goes, hey, Bob, hey, come here for a second. And he comes over there, and Jacob, this other student, says, hey, man, listen, if I help you write a prayer, would you mind leading the prayer? And he goes, well, I don't. He goes, I'll help you write it. I'll help you work through it. He goes, okay, I can do it. Which this was such a cool moment, right?
Right. Yeah.
To see these two students have this moment where this one student disciples his friend. He is encouraging him. He is equipping him. He is enabling him to do this thing. And he's saying, I'll stand with you in this, right? Such a cool moment. That was probably my favorite moment of the whole weekend.
Yeah. I've seen times where a kid, a youth group age kid, this was one of my first job. This youth group age kid got up and he was leading a song, and we had like a youth-led night. And so all the youth group kids and the younger kids were leading the songs. Well, the teenager, it was his first time to ever get up and actually do this. And he got up and he started doing it, and he messed up, and he just kind of stopped. Mm-hmm. And the church brought up the volume a little bit. You know, they were encouraging him, but his dad got up and went up there with him. And the kid had just stopped and was just like, oh, he was embarrassed. He wanted to get down off the stage. The church was like, hey, we got you, man, you know. But his dad got up there and just said, hey, take a breath. And then the kid started singing again, and then dad went back and sat down. And it's one of those things where you see things like that, where this moment happens and everybody watched it happen. And you know that this person was hurting, this person was embarrassed and scared or whatever, kind of like Bob and Jacob were there. He was embarrassed, he was scared, he didn't know what to do, and the other person came in and stepped in and said, here's some help, here's some encouragement, here's what you need to continue what you're doing.
And that happened at Nikki Preslin's funeral.
Oh yeah,
with Nick. Nick was leading singing. They asked Nick to lead the songs, and Nick's fantastic song leader. I love Nick.
Yeah.
And one of the songs choked him up, and he started tearing up and couldn't lead.
Sure.
And Brandon walked up there and helped him out, and he eventually got his composure back, and Brandon went and sat down.
Yeah.
But it leads to this intergenerational mentorship. You know, we talk about us mentoring the kids, and we talk about, you know, our mentors, but making sure that the older members of your congregation are also mentoring the younger members of your congregation. And for me, this started, back at Buford when I was in high school or probably middle school. I had the privilege of my older mentor was our preacher, Scott Harp. And I would say a lot of the reason that I'm in ministry today is because of Scott and that mentorship, of just the effect that he had on me, and being able to talk to me about ministry and the things that happen on, you know, from a minister's standpoint, and just being able to sit there and be real with somebody. And really, a lot of that's what we need today, is for the older members to go to these younger members and also voluntarily, you know, go on their own will, but the younger members, your youth group, allowing them to do that. They have been through a lot.
Yeah, I know you guys have both studied through this, but I mean, this is the stuff we're seeing with the sticky faith stuff, right? Like the whole thing that impacts whether or not students, the biggest thing that impacts whether or not they stay with their faith after high school is this exact thing.
What 7
mentors.
meaningful relationships outside the youth group?
The biggest jump is at 3.
Yeah.
And then you see at 7 is kind of the big number where it's basically 100%, you know, getting them connected with at least 7 members. 3% or 3 members, I think it jumps from like 40% to like 70%. And so that's the big jump. So that's kind of what my goal has been, is just getting at least three people that they're connected with that are non-peer contacts. And so that goes back to this intergenerational mentorship. One of the big things here is, I am 35 years old. I have 3 kids. I am in a different stage of life than other people who have kids that have they're in college, you know, or people who have kids that are grown and have kids of their own, right? And so having these people who are in different stages of life and our kids interacting with them, they see the experience, the wisdom that those people offer. And I think that's this big thing with the intergenerational mentorship, is these people have experienced life. In Japan, this is a completely cultural thing. Let's say there's someone in your youth group who is dealing with a drug addiction, okay? And who would you say would be a good contact for them to talk to here in the United States, for them to talk to that would be a good contact to help them through a drug addiction?
Well, we'd find organizations in our local communities, right? There's definitely, you know,
counselors of some sort.
Well, I'm specifically in the church. Who would you connect them with?
Someone who's been there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we've got a member that I'm thinking of right now that's gone through some major addiction and overcome it, and now helps lead with the Foundry there in Coleman, and helps like guide other young men who are struggling through these kind of addictions.
Well, in this area, we have Project Rescue.
Yeah.
One of them. I give them both. Project Rescue. And it's a group. It's a men's home for people that are going through their addictions and getting past those addictions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of those attend our church or Beltline or Madison, and they kind of go around.
So in American culture, what we do is we find, if there's somebody that's going through an experience, we find someone who went through that experience and came out on top. Okay. Statistically, that's not a very good thing to do. Statistically, Japan, on the other hand, If somebody is dealing with addiction and drug addiction or whatever, they find someone who's never done drugs before and was able to completely say, no, I'm not doing this. And they connect them with that person. And the statistics show that person dramatically changes the other kid's life or the other person's life in a huge way. And the stats on it are way higher finding someone who has never done that. And so, again, this is when you try to connect people and when you're thinking about this intergenerational idea, finding people that are the right people to, that's why I make sure that the people that are going on our trips with our kids are going to be people that our kids can go to and talk to about different life experiences and whatever it is that they're going through. And so it's an important thing to connect your kids, not with just people that are their parents' age, but people that are older. I think back to Arkansas, right before COVID happened, all of our teenagers requested that they get a class that was taught by one of the elders. And he was, I think, 91. And they were like, we want a class with him, And I thought that was such a great idea. We scheduled it up. He taught one class, and then COVID happened, and we never got to finish that. But they loved that one class. They talked about that one class forever. And I'll just tell you, it wasn't just the best class in the world. It was just a normal, but because they knew he cared about them and he took the time to put the class together, it was life-changing for them. They still talk about it even today. So.
We have an elder that he teaches this class. I call it the note card class because throughout the entire 13 weeks, you have this note card and you keep adding to it. It's like a reference note card, and it's a chain reference. If you're looking for the Lord's Supper, it's going to have like every single time the Lord's Supper is mentioned, and you've gone through that in the class.
Oh, cool.
And the kid, the first time he taught it, I think it was to the young adult group, and they loved it. So then I asked him, I said, could you come back and do that to the high school class here in the future? And he ends up doing that. Well, the high school kids just loved him teaching. And now they're asking for him to teach any other class that they can be in. They just enjoyed being around him. And that's that mentorship. And really for the people that are listening that aren't youth ministers, you don't understand how easy it is to be that mentor and the things that you do that people pick up on.
Yeah.
And just you simply living your life and being this good example, people are going to notice that. Kids are going to notice that, and they're going to be like you when they get older.
It's important to make sure that you're being a good husband.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the kids are looking at you and they're thinking, is this person a good husband? If I'm just being a jerk all the time to my wife and my kids, they're not going to respect me, And so being a good husband, being a good dad, making sure that your family is first is going to make a huge impact on the students. And whether people realize that or not, that's the truth of it. If kids pick up on things, they know when their parents aren't getting along. They know when their parents are fighting or discussing something that's deep or whatever. And they're going to know when you and your wife are not getting along and when you and your kids are having a spout. There's going to be something. So making sure that we are finding ways. That's the biggest thing. We're finding ways to connect with our students. Yes. Or to connect our students to others. Okay, that's the big thing. Finding these people that are in your churches, that are serving in your churches, helping elders, deacons, parents, college students, peers, whatever, but connecting them together and allowing them to have those hard, tough conversations with those people. I use interns a lot in this way. Interns can, our interns, when I was in Arkansas, our teenagers talk with them even today, even now. Shout out to Luke Truitt. I know for a fact that our kids still text him about things that are going on in their life. Yeah. And they stay connected on everything. Several of our students are doing that even now. And so, but making sure that those connections are made and that those people are people that we can trust, that we can know are going to lead them in the right direction. This all kind of comes to this one moment where I overheard a college student talking with one of my high school students. Okay, and this is not a good thing. So this is one of those horror story things. And the college student never was really involved in our youth ministry, and the high school student was. He was very involved, and he talked to this college student, and the college student said things about, well, when you go to college, you're going to try alcohol for the first time, And you're going to try these different things for the first time because you've never been allowed to do that with your family there. And now you get this opportunity to try these things and see if it's something that you want to do for the rest of your life. And to me, that was one of the things that said, I need to be more careful with the people that I put in contact with my students. And so I really did my absolute best from that point on to make sure my kids were connecting with the right people. And since I did take that kid to the side and talk to them and said, listen, I went to college, I went to high school, I did all that stuff. I never drank beer. I've decided that's not going to be something, that I do with my life. I'm not going to do it. And so I never did this, and I heard her say that you're going to experience all these things. She may have made those decisions, but that doesn't mean that you have to. Mm-hmm. And going through that stuff with them and walking through it from a place where that person can be respected. Sorry. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about? Y'all?
I mean, I think this is good, and this is one of 7, right? We've got 6 more coming.
7
about this. Again, we're going to talk about worship, about prayer, about how we call our students into service, how we have intentional Bible study moments, how we not just model spiritual disciplines, but how we call our students into spiritual disciplines, and then kind of how we think about our apologetics and what we're communicating in our message. So I think we got some awesome things on the horizon with this series.
Definitely, yeah. I'm excited to talk about these different things. I'm excited to be able to kind of walk through these different areas and ways that we can implement those in our youth ministries. And hopefully that will help you guys out too. Because we're kind of gearing up to go into the summer. We've got a 7-week course here that we're going to walk through these different things so that you can implement those once summer starts. And you're going to have a lot of time with your students during the summer. And these are good ways to put into that time and find ways to connect with them one-on-one.
I think, just because we're the guys on here talking, it's like we're telling everybody else what to do. No, man, like when we get together to record, this is all conversational. We really don't know how the conversation is going to go when we start sometimes.
Y'all are giving us way too much credit.
I find myself...
Or how much we're having to delete out of it.
I find myself leaving here going, man, Hunter had a great idea today. Or Michael's really doing a cool thing, and I want to implement that at Coleman. And so we're learning as we go in this, and I'm looking forward to what I'm going to learn from you guys through this series. So.
Yeah. We hope that you're all looking forward to this series and the things that we're talking about in this series. If you haven't already, check out our website. You'll be seeing some stuff pop up. We kind of took a little bit of a break over Christmas and New Year's to just kind of reset and everything. And so we're probably going to be starting back up, getting some resources back out there starting in February. And we hope that you can look on there, check them out. Some of them will be free. Some of them are paid. Some of them are, whatever. We'll definitely be putting up some more articles, like blog articles and stuff for you to read. And kind of build up off that. Make sure that you follow us on all the socials. We've got an Instagram page and a Facebook page. I think Hunter is doing a lot of stuff with a Facebook page, and so make sure you're following that and follow along with the different things that are going on with that. And also leave us a review on Spotify, and that helps with the algorithm and stuff. I saw today that the Ministry League, when they announced the stuff, we had this huge bump in our impressions. And so impressions, it just means it's like they say, somebody will be listening to one podcast and it says, hey, this is a podcast that's a lot like that, based on the reviews and on the ratings. And so because of those ratings and reviews, people are seeing our podcast more. And so getting the word out there for us, that really helps out. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Man, we're glad that y'all are listening. We're thankful for our audience. We're praying for you. We're striving there with you. And feel free to email us, send in something if you have any questions or anything about the show.
And don't forget to register for Revival.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, we definitely need to be registering. It's coming up pretty fast. Yeah, just a few more weeks. So
Graymere.
Revival at Graymere. You can find it on the Facebook page. Make sure that you're registered. We'll see you there. I think all 3 of us are going, right?
Yep.
Awesome. It's going to be great. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we're very grateful for you, thankful for you, and we're praying for you, and we hope that your ministry is blessed.
Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out oksyouthministry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the OKS youth minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better. I want to take a second here to recommend the Revival Youth Ministers Retreat at Graymere. The dates are March 3rd through the 5th, and there's going to be some really dynamic speakers, and it's going to be a really great time. If you have any more questions or need more information, go to their website, or you can check out their Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and type in Revival Youth Ministers Retreat, and that should have all the information along with links to their registration, and I hope I see you there.